Hello, hello. Hi there, everybody. How's it going? How's it going? Happy Thursday. Hold on one moment, everybody. I am just posting something over here to Twitter. Oh man. Oh, sorry about this. Hello, everyone. Hi. Hi, Teague. Hi, Griffin. Hi, Kara. Okay, the new name. There we go. Hey, Kara. Kara, that is you, right? Same Kara? Just making sure. Just because sometimes we have, duplicate people with duplicate names. What's up, Ray? Hello, Laura. Same you? Perfect. Gotcha. Get your housing Fox here, Griffin. The Fox and the Fix. There we go. I got you. Oh, okay. So we are back here in Eluded Ecstasy. Which I realized maybe I should make a little ping to the Eluded Ecstasy people in their Discord, since I know some of them like to join for this stuff. Let's see, I don't know. Hold on, let me make sure. Sweet. Okay. Yeah. Excited for the stream. Oh, I'm glad to have you here, Teague. I'm glad you guys always look forward to this. I look forward to this. So yeah, to preface what we're going to be doing today, last time we worked on the Hell side of this Heaven and Hell club. And so I thought, since we worked on Hell last time, we'll work on Heaven today. And I do feel like in these early planning stages, there isn't as much building as there is thinking through the structure and how all the pieces might fit together, or could fit together, I should say. I know that while we are primarily focused on fully rebuilding the Hell area, there is a big aspect of them wanting to also them wanting me to also redo the heaven area in some aspects. So I do feel like it's important then that I plan for that so that I don't end up misbudgeting a bunch of items in other places. And especially with, I think, in some of my other builds, you know, if you guys know my other nightclubs, for the most part, I had kind of complete free reign as to what to do. And in some sense, I do have that here too. I was given that same liberty here to kind of have my creative freedom with this club. But because it does have the existing theme, and it does have existing structural limitations, like the fact that we need all 3 floors to be used, and certain aspects to not change or still be incorporated, you know, I think it's making me think a little bit more carefully about how I plan through this, how I think through this, because, you know, I started, let's just, to jog everybody's memory, we were working on Hell last time, and honestly got it into a pretty good spot, right, where we were looking at, you know, this as kind of like where we left off. And I spent a lot of time off stream looking through hundreds of different reference material and going through all the different housing items just one by one. So just opening this menu, just going one by one through them all, and kind of trying to jot notes down as ideas came up to me. So I have this huge list of notes and ideas and stuff for both heaven and hell. But, you know, I think it's all too easy to then start generating 10,000 ideas. But if you kind of misbudget your item slots, right, you might end up having to really snub some areas of the slots and the decor that they deserve just because you went a little too hardcore on one area. So I started to realize I was only really thinking through a lot of the hell stuff and kind of like had all these ideas for like what I want to do with the stage, all these cool things we could add here. And I realized that as I was thinking about the heaven area, I realized I didn't really have a full, complete understanding of like what all needed to happen with the heaven area. And so that's kind of where I arrived at today's topic for the stream, which was I want to take a look again at the heaven area and kind of try to think through a bit of what we're supposed to do up here. Not necessarily rebuild the whole thing up front, but just even sort of thinking through what will get rearranged and kind of what are the new elements that need to get in here, because it is important to keep that big picture in mind, since we really want both areas to feel cohesive and we don't want either area to feel like it's lackluster, you know, compared to the other. So yeah, this is the area we have to work with. And yeah, do we have some representatives from the Eluded Ecstasy FC up in here? Out of curiosity, hopefully we have a couple of you, because I would love to be able to fire out some ideas and some questions actually to you, because I do realize that there's a couple things that I would like maybe some extra thoughts on or some clarity on. So hopefully we got one or two folks maybe here who can help me through some of those things. Yo, what's up, Maggie Way? Welcome back, welcome back. Just tuning in a bit before you go to sleep? Well, I'm glad to have you here. Yeah, welcome back to the stream. Also, Cashton6, thank you very much for that follow. Welcome to the stream. Master Wolf, welcome back as well. Hello. Hi. Yeah, so let's see here. So while maybe I see some more people are coming in. Hello everybody. Welcome to the housing stream. So okay, so let's start thinking through what do we need to do here. So okay, so the heaven area. The major pieces, from my understanding, the major pieces, the major pieces from this, from my understanding, that need to stay are this hallway of light, which is not totally lit up right now, because that only lights up mostly during the day. And then they want to keep the essence of this heaven dance floor area. And I get where they're coming from with that, where we like the bright white, we like the stained glass windows and the kind of arch, regal looking archways, the greenery kind of coming into play. So I get the theming. I totally get the theming. But I do feel like there's possibly some ways that I can think of where we can make a little bit more of an interesting layout or structure maybe to some of this stuff. Similar to what we're doing with the hell area, where we're going to try to change it up a little bit so it feels a little bit less like sort of the box that people know, and love, and I think in a lot of senses, but we're going to try to see if we can make this feel a little bit more custom, right? And I do feel like a big part of this is right now, the heaven area upstairs here is separated into the dance floor over there where we just were, and then the bar area, which is over here. And I do believe, someone correct me if I'm wrong, if you're from the Eluded Ecstasy, but I do believe that I was given permission to fuse the two. So the main major items that need to stay in place is obviously there needs to be a bar, there needs to be a dance floor, there needs to be that hallway of light, right? This hallway of light largely needs to either stay unchanged or the essence of it really needs to be intact. And then actually another thing that they wanted to add was a confessional booth. And so I think in order to get all of these ideas in, we're gonna need to truncate some stuff. Because I think, to really do some of those things properly, I would ideally like it if we, smash some things together a little bit. So, let's see. And so, maybe this is a fielding question to the Eluded FC folks, but I mean, okay, I think the obvious answer here is the confessional booth needs to function. Because, or if possible, it's ideal if it functions. But my question is actually, is this an actual feature that you literally need people to be able to sit in and use regularly? This is important because I think, for example, if this is a booth that needs to actually have people popping in and out of it all the time, then it needs to, for example, need to be big enough to fit a row in there, right? Whereas if we don't actually need two people literally sitting inside it, then we can actually build it smaller and and go focus more on the look of it, right? Just like the vibe of there is a confessional booth here, but it doesn't necessarily need to function, right? And I think this is an important distinction, especially like in 14 housing here, where a lot of what we make is facades of stuff, right? It's not actually functional, right? A lot of things in 14 housing are illusions or they're facades, and that's partially due to slot limitations, and also that in order to make something functional in here and not have your camera go insane and actually be usable, something like a really tight confessional booth is kind of tricky to do because your camera will freak out if you're actually in a really tiny, tiny little box, right? Like, what is your camera going to be able to do? It might be kind of really tricky to get that working nicely. So that's why I'm just asking up front, is this actually something that realistically we need to really use extra time and effort and items to really make this fully functional? If realistically it's more of like, almost like not a joke, but kind of like, it's thematically fun, but it's not something that needs to be, it doesn't actually have to have a practical RP experience that will be used all the time, right? Do you see what I'm saying there? So, let's see. K-Mono says you love the prism hallway. Yeah, they do too. It's quite nice with the flowers and everything. Yeah, let's see. Does the confession... Okay, so Griffin, you're saying why not put the confessional into purgatory? Question, is that actually where it would go? Because I was told they wanted to have the confessional booth up in heaven. But just an honest question of, yeah, like I guess once you're in heaven, you shouldn't need to confess anymore, right? That would logically track that if you already made it into heaven, you're already an absolute angel, therefore... you wouldn't need that. But I know originally when I was told, they were saying they wanted to add a confessional booth, and I thought the pitch was they wanted it in heaven. So let's see. Which, once again, like I think also confessional booth being in the middle floor, it's cute, but then then I think even more so it doesn't need to function, right? If yeah. Maybe so right, so here right, because the thing is, yeah, I think if it's in purgatory, there's an argument to be made that it doesn't actually need to have people sitting in it. Just because then, again, I'm thinking item slot efficiency, right? Like every item slot counts. If I don't need something to actually be able to open up and people to sit inside it, then it can be a facade, and it will save me some item slots. And especially like if it's in purgatory, where 99% of the time when you're in this club, you won't be in purgatory, right? So most of the stuff in purgatory is going to be more aesthetically just kind of giving you the vibe, because it doesn't make sense to spend too many item slots on purgatory if you're never ever going to be here, you know? So let's see. Oh man, Mom was almost a nun, then she discovered boys. It do be like that sometimes, yes. It do be like that. So yes, yes, I do know there's lots of other ways that you could take some of this theming. But I know this is a club that we're trying to, well, it's not totally safe for work necessarily all the time, but we're, yeah. Okay, so how I'm trying to envision how this can go, right? So Stairway to Heaven. What? How many item slots we got again, right? Like we are really close on item slots already. So a lot of this would have to get restructured in order to create a new thing. Can you okay, question. So here, you know, something that I'm considering right now is completely moving the dance floor. So let me restart my sentence there. I mentioned that I want to fuse the dance floor and the bar areas together, right? So that leads me to think, what can we use as a clever way to make this feel more like a more interesting layout, right? And one thing could be, can you just walk right in here? Like, does this actually need to be a window, or could this actually just walk you straight through and you drop in here? Would that be interesting? Would this be, you know, let's see, where, if we did it like that, where could the dance floor be, right? Or where could the stage be? And once again, I know some people might be thinking, like, you're not doing a whole lot of like building, and that is true. But I do feel like having a strong sense of the layout and the foundational aspects of the build is super important, because a lot of stuff starts to really just plug itself in once that is all set. So I do know that some people are probably like, well, you're not building that much. But for me at least, the way that I work through a nightclub, and if I was doing this off stream, I would be just thinking through this for hours too. I mean, I have been thinking through this for hours, even off stream, especially with regard to like hell. So showing you kind of the full process here, yes, a lot of it is, I need to be really clear on how I see the user moving through the space and it feeling really good. I think if you guys were on the stream last time, then you might have noticed that I was doing that a lot, where for hell, right? I mean, I spent a lot of time just trying to figure out what felt good. In terms of when we were down here, right? Like just doing this over and over again. Like, what does this feel like? Getting down here and then trying to like figure out how to make this moment feel really good. And I think we got something that's starting to feel pretty good. But so many of the things just, even if on screen it doesn't translate, when you're physically walking through the space, it has to feel nice, you know? It has to feel, it has to flow and it has to feel good. This, to me at least, this is very, very important. And I think that so much of that is, it's like almost, it'll be subconscious, right? If I've done, I come from the design world, right? My background is in graphic design. And I think that's where a lot of my framing of a lot of this comes from, which is so to say that so much of what I do when I'm designing, whether it's here now in effectively virtual architecture, I didn't go to architecture school, right? But I went to design school, and yeah, so much of what you learn there is that if you've done your job correctly, the user just has an effortless experience. And in fact, they almost shouldn't notice it, right? I think maybe some of you have heard the concept of good design is invisible. And I feel like this is what we're talking about right now. We're talking about the invisible aspect of a lot of this stuff, where the user is not supposed to walk into this and be like, wow, the way that they curve this hallway is just so immaculate. It just should feel natural. But if you do it wrong, it'll feel wonky. And people will kind of like, this feels a little weird, or this is kind of like a little claustrophobic, or, you know, they don't get as nice of a vibe. And so much of nightlife, so much of venue spaces, creating spaces for people, whether it's virtual or in real life, is the vibe, right? Ask any architect, ask any interior designer, and they'll tell you so much of it is subtle and not meant to be consciously recognized. It's meant to be subconsciously kind of cumulatively added together to create an experience, right? So yeah. I'm glad that you guys are liking this talking through the thought process, because I feel like so you know, my thought is that, yeah, as you're kind of saying, like, I do feel like this is the kind of side of stuff where, in some sense, if I show you me building, or if I show you even what I've built after, it's not that hard for you to piece together what I did, especially if you do housing, right? So, because I think, okay, any of you who are like housing designers or have done any amount of housing for any vague amount of time here, eyeball this room and tell me what every item is, or like kind of how it's put together. And I think most of you can do that, right? So I feel like that isn't the part that adds to your knowledge or makes it different or interesting, I guess. Not to say that a cool structure isn't interesting, but I do feel like screenshots and maybe just popping you into the build process later on is good enough that you'll be able to like ooh and ah, like, oh wow, that's so cool that you use this item and blah blah blah. But I think what you normally don't ever hear is a designer talking through, okay, yeah, I used the curtains like that, but why did I use those curtains and not the other curtains, right? How did I choose that the bar goes along this wall and not this wall? And oh, it's because I needed to fit this seating in that was mandatory by the person. They required 2 tables with 4 chairs, and in order to make that happen while still having a dance floor space, you needed to put the bar over there or something, you know, blah blah blah, stuff like that, right? So yeah. Akari, Nado. Welcome back to the stream. Hello, hello. And Kemono saying Amelia is an entertainer. Give her a lot of props and things to use to further the heaven, hell, and purgatory theme in the night. Yes. So I do feel like thematically that is the big thing. Okay, so let's talk through that, right? Let's talk through that idea, right, of giving props and stuff, right? So I think one way to think about that would be to try to literally give like little tiny bits in here and there, like a little table that you can interact with, a little mannequin thing that you interact with, a little thing, right? But I know for me, I've often found that because there is a lack of movement and interactability in a house, it's a little bit hard to get to go as far in on the interaction points, especially in the context of a crowded nightclub. Because a lot of times the little subtle movements get overwhelmed, you know? So for me, I've usually ended up thinking that it's stronger for the experience to give people really impressive vantage points and backdrops, especially if they're in a venue here where it's going to be live streamed, right? So this is kind of what I'm thinking about here, right? Is, of course, I want the space to feel good to dance in, to party in. So I want to give spaces for people to dance on, you know, stages. I want to give tables and seating and that kind of thing. But I think the big thing for me when it comes to building a nightlife venue is that I really want those really wow kind of vantage points where the streamer, the performer, Amelia in this case, potentially, you know, as an entertainer, can stick her camera and it really gives her like a really impressive looking backdrop that jumps out at you, especially when, for example, people are scrolling through Twitch, right? And they're like looking at the first page, right? What do you have to go by? You can't hear what she's saying. You don't know anything about her personality, but you would see the thumbnail. And if the thumbnail screams out at you with a really impressive backdrop and something that really grabs your attention and feels unique, then I think that lands a little bit better in the streamer context, right? Than focusing on too many of the smaller elements, right? So that's not to say that actually, so I don't disagree with you, Kemono. I think I'm just talking through kind of where my mindset is with regard to props and that kind of thing, right? Is when I think of props, to me, I think more of like that the backdrop itself is almost like a prop, you know? That what I'm giving her isn't so much little props or little interaction things sitting around the room, but I'm giving them almost like photo sets, like photo worthy cinematic like landscapes or something like that, where they can snap their camera to, let's just say this, right? This is a vantage point that I know when they were partying here, they were standing up here. So what does this backdrop look like? We need this to look really cool. But then also, I suppose there could be like an alternative, you know, maybe there's a stage or something over here, or dance floor or something. Okay, so what does that look like? And I need that to look also good. So she says, but she interacts a lot too. There's a lot of storytelling in the club as well. When you say that, what do you mean? Could you elaborate on that? I think I kind of know what you mean, but I want to hear from you, and I also want Twitch to hear like what you mean by that. Also, this is super cool, I gotta say. I was in here taking photos and kind of looking through this, and I gotta say, I really like this interaction with the light coming through this particular plant. It looks really cool. It's very dramatic. And I do want to maybe double down on that somehow, because that looks incredible. Just this right here is extremely, you know, heaven-centric, I think, right? So, okay, so let's just look at that. Let's just admire this for a second. Okay, so Kemono says, like on Back to School, there were teachers and students. Some were on their tombstones and got in trouble. Chat and things were all on that and spiraled from there. Right, okay. Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely feel like that there is room for people to Okay, like, I definitely think that, yes. So to say, I'm on board. I'm totally on board with you. I won't make. I definitely don't want this to just be only architecture with no places to sit, no places to create a storyline, right? So we are absolutely going to put little pockets of what do you call it? Theming in a way, right? That would allow you to kind of use as like a hook point for your RP. So I mean, this was one of the reasons, like, with, you know, we're talking about. I do want to get in the confessional booth that you guys wanted. And so it wasn't like we can't do that. It's more like, I just need to understand the level to which this thing needs to actually exist, right? And, you know, it's similar. I think it's a balancing act, right? So same with the stage, right? So with like downstairs, with the hellscape, and even upstairs in heaven, I think, you know, with the stage, right? It's not just going to be like a stage where nobody could do anything with the stage. There's going to be a stage, and there's going to be points where there's areas that kind of like frame the dancers, right? Like almost like towers where they would dance in, for example, right? Or in the case of hell, right? We talked about having like a dance cage, right? And a VIP area, right? So the VIP area might have like, you know, demon lord chair or something, you know, like that's kind of what I was imagining, right? Is have these kind of like almost like you're sitting on a throne or something, right? Like the hell throne that you often see with demons and stuff. So, and you know, and I think that creates both, you know, natural things that you'd expect in a club, but then also absolutely points where you could create a storyline around that during a night, right? You know, Amelia sitting in the demon lord chair and kind of running from there, right? Or, you know, having certain people in the cage or something like that, right? Or that type of thing, right? So I think this is kind of the I think this will still give you that prop and interactability that you're looking for, hopefully. And I know Amelia is sharp. I know she's quick on her toes, and she can come up with stuff too. And I think that's part of the fun is, you know, a lot of this will be what you make of it, how you build your little storyline from that. Okay, so something here as we're talking about it, right? Like, I think one of the biggest elements here is actually the state. It's the rework of the layout here, and then also adding this confessional booth. Right now, my brain is getting a little stuck on trying to think through the layout. So let's take a moment here and just glance through some of these items and consider what we might use for this confessional booth. Knowing that it might go in purgatory, it might go up here, but I think. Let's see. Okay, so what does a confessional booth need? Confessional booth needs 2 doors, effectively, right? It needs 2 doors, and really that's mostly it. A partition between the 2 areas. There's 2 doors that lead to 2 chambers, and there's a partition in the middle, right? And in essence, that, correct me if I'm wrong, but that is a confessional booth right there. Like, ornamentation, fanciness, stained glass, whatever, all that stuff aside, it's really just, there needs to be 2 pockets, basically, with a divider in the middle, and then that in theory someone could talk through, right? I think. So I think first thought is, here's our divider, right? So it's either this or like wood slats or something, but I do feel like when you see confessional booths, right, I feel like often this is the look, right, where they have this kind of thing, a mesh or something, right, where they're talking through the mesh. So I would say this could be something like the divider in the middle. I also noticed, actually, when I was looking at through the items, I noticed this stuff, and So this, right? This right here, to me, actually already screams confessional booth. And the just like the kind of the look of this, right? The art, the way this works, but especially actually this right there, this window right here. When I was looking at this, it just screamed to me. This screamed confessional booth. Does this particular window right here, and this lights up, by the way. If I have this and I place it down on the ground and I activate it, this thing will light up. Correct me if I'm wrong, but does that scream confessional booth to anyone else? Because the moment I saw it, something in my brain lit up and I just thought, wait, that's perfect. That's the window. So and then I know that this though does raise the question of, okay, well, that's all fine and dandy, but how do they get inside this thing? And that is a design challenge, admittedly. But I did think if there was potentially a way to get this and use that, then that could be really cool. I think that there's something that could be really cool made out of that. And yes, warning, I know there's a Guardian Bureau, so you can only put one. So you have two. You have this one and you have this one, right? And they are actually different colors, curiously. And so that would be something you'd have to work around. But man, I just thought this pattern is so cool and it feels very church-like to me. So it feels, I don't know, something about this design pattern. I can't maybe explain it in architecture terms or like the right, what is it? Terminology, timeline-wise or something, historically speaking. But to me, this does feel very in line with the types of cutouts that I often have seen, this kind of florally cutout that I've seen in a lot of churches. So yeah, let's see here. Okay, the royal partition too. That's true, yeah. Right, we have this one. Ah, yeah, there you go, right, with the thing in the middle. Which also is obviously an obvious partition, so you can imagine that we'd have, you know, like that. Someone sitting, talking through the thing. And I know it probably isn't top to bottom. Usually there's only about at the face level, there's the little cutout. Because you don't really want to see each other fully. It's really just talking through the little thing with your voice, right? So I do feel like ideally you would cover up some of that so it's not like completely open as it is like that. It also has that florally thing going on, right? So I think there's a way that maybe this could combine with the Gordian stuff and create like an interesting looking structure. Ah, Mia, yeah, so you like that window on the little Gordian thing. Yeah, it really has such a nice looking window there. That little light up panel, it's such a nice little object. It's a bit of a shame that we can't, you know, splice. Can you imagine how crazy this whole thing would be if you could splice apart items? Like if you could just chop off, like for example, if I liked the pillar or like the structural thing on here, if I could just chop this whole pillar off, right? Or just the screen part, oh my God, how cool would that be? And that's like, honestly, that's what you would be able to do in like Unreal Engine or something, right? So Edwardian, is that the term for the visual aesthetic that we're talking about here? So it's not uncommon for father to reach out and touch your hands, which the royal allows more than the tighter weave. Got it. That and mirror them. Yes, yeah, being able to splice apart items or mirror items would be super cool. Mirroring is another one, like mirroring or free rotation. So like, for example, to be able to take these lights and flip them upside down so that the crystals are pointing upward would be amazing, right? Or yeah, like invert some of these things would just be so awesome. Especially, I know like the big one that everyone talks about is the recent, like this one, right? This thing that everyone's been using. And like it's not that you can't just flip it around, but you won't get the stars on the other side. And to just be able to mirror this would be like amazing. You know, that's a really good example. Oh, question. Hey, question for the Eluded Ecstasy FC people. Do you have the submarines that are able to get the flagstone stuff? This stuff. Are your submarines like leveled up? Because I think it could be, we might want to send some out for those things. And yeah, I know someone was asking, is there a known reason for the limit of the primal items? That's a good question, to be honest. I would love to hear why they're restricted. My guess was originally a lot of those were restricted because they had more complex effects. And so to limit two things, right? One is they have more complex effects, and two, because they're from primals, I wondered if, well, actually, maybe there's three things. Two, because they're from primals, perhaps there was a sense of like people not fighting over that mat so much, although that doesn't really make that much sense because like people farm for stuff all the time. But I guess the third one could be something like lore-wise. If you got a trophy, like, okay, for example, that demon, the demon face, right? Or whatever that, the Ifrit one, right? Ifrit wall things. I don't know if this is the case, so don't quote me on this. This is not like canon or anything like that, but where the hell is it? Wait, is it considered lighting? Oh, it is. Yeah. So like this, right? Like, so presumably you acquire this because you killed Ifrit and then you've kind of like crazily mounted his face on the wall, turned it into a lamp, right? Which is a little morbid. But I don't know. I could see there being an argument that says like RP or like lore-wise, it doesn't make sense that there would be like 30 of him. Like you killed the one, right? Or some of these other ones like, yeah, where they're using like parts of it, Shinryu's wing or something like that. It's kind of like there aren't like 50 Shinryus. But you know, I don't know if that's actually the problem. Honestly, it's probably originally more of like a loading thing, right? All these effects, if you have like too many of these, it would overload the server or something, or that was the concern, something like that, I'm gonna guess. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't think it would at this point, because, for example, we can have multiple... I think they've lifted the ban on a lot of that stuff. There's some pretty wacky, crazy items now that you can have multiple of, right? But I don't know. Some of these do get a little crazy. The vortex couch, like this thing, right? For example, you know, I could see how you could make an argument that it's like or these things, right? It's just this is a lot of stuff for the game to have to think about, and if you have too many of these, or if these overlap, maybe it will cause issues. I have to believe that most of that is a coding issue, right? Or it's like it'll crash the game issue. That seems to usually be the case. So I know that's why you can't overlap, for example, aquariums, because if you overlap them, it was crashing games when they used to be able to overlap. So now you can't overlap aquariums with each other because of the way the water refracts with each other. So items with more complex effects, same thing with like the, what is it? Not Omega stuff. The, the stuff from the Binding Coil, right? The Allegan stuff, right? Has some of those really crazy looking effects that pop up. And I'm guessing they're worried that you'll brick people's computers too much or something if you just have too many of these wacky, crazy stuff going off. Now, I don't know why it's only one though for a lot of these things, because some of these things it makes sense. Like, oh, you can only have, for example, the alchemic furnaces. You know, like what are those things? Interactable things, right? These ones, right? You can. There's a limit. But this makes more sense to me. Okay, like, based on the size of the house, it's limited to a certain amount of facilities. I feel like this would make more sense to be able to say, like, okay, you're limited to 12 primal items cumulatively because of how crazy the effects are, but you can use those 12 slots however you want. But then I think maybe they ran into that issue where they said, oh, but what do you want, right? Do you prefer to say, would you rather them tell you you can have a total of 12 primal slots, but you capped at 12, right? But you could have 12 Ifrit faces if you want, but you capped at 12. Or would you rather them say you can have one of everything? So you could have like a full room decked head to toe in every primal thing that you've killed as a trophy room, but you can only have one. Right? I'm guessing that's what the devs would tell you. Is they'd say, from a loading back-end standpoint, right? You have to pick one of those two things. And we thought it makes the most sense that a lot of people aren't going to use 12 Ifrit sculptures. Most people, the average person who does housing is probably not doing the stuff that we're talking about, right? So, you know. Oh, and Akarin, thank you so much for gifting that tier 1 sub to Stranger Than Wilson. I very much appreciate that. Yes. Okay. Sorry, just catching up there a little on chat. Okay, so I think, yeah. Okay, actually, while I'm here, I might as well look at these, right? I did look at these from the context of the Hellscape thing, but I wonder if there's anything here that could be used. So these are like items that are like often overlooked too, I feel like. I feel like there's somewhere where someone could do something with like this being like a torture device, where like, you know, you have the little cranks there. There's probably something that could be done there. Do with that information as you will, folks. But I do feel like there's like the little gears here. There's like a torture device kind of potential thing there. I feel like thinking about this from the hell perspective. I don't know if that will fit with what we're doing. I don't, yeah. But it's something to keep in mind. Let's see. Oh, I did like the idea of using one of these, which looks very heaven-y to me. Okay, wait, so getting distracted here. So, creating the, let's go back to this thing. I really want to figure out a way to make this work, this Gordian thing, because I feel like it would be really, really nice and something I've not seen before to use this. I've seen this used as a window, but I've not seen it used as a confessional window, obviously. So how would this work? So we can go here. Okay, this is a puzzle problem. This is a design puzzle. And I gotta say, the solution that I have to this is actually rather simple. This, so instead of, imagine that there's a confessional booth. Let's see here. How are we gonna do this? How can I block this out? There's gotta be some items in here we can use. Oh look, we have a royal partition. How fun. Okay. Okay, let's build this here. Right? So royal partition in the middle, right? And then actually what I think we would do is use the Gordian thing. Like this. But flip it around. And it would go like that. Right? And because really, actually, I think what this would be is this would be up like into the wall, right? So you wouldn't actually see all this crap hanging out. But all I need is I want people you could walk up basically, right? From let's just imagine that I'm walking into the room from over here, walking into the room, and you need to just see that window land, right? And then this is like a box, right? And then you'd still walk around the front here maybe to get into the booth and like get into this and then do the actual thing. But I like the idea that like maybe there is just this little window here that kind of is a cutout to this, right? So let me make that a little more obvious. Oh, we don't have a lot of structural stuff here. Structure stuff. No. Lots of. No. Okay. Honestly, for the sake of talking about this, this'll work. This'll do. Oh, that's kind of cool too. With the little, like, if you just cover the wine part, but you just had this mesh to talk through, that's actually not too bad either. Right, so, okay, this would need to be better spaced out, obviously, because otherwise no one could fit in here at all. But you could imagine this being maybe tucked up in a corner. And then oh, actually, does that even look kind of cool, like showing that bit in there? Actually, that is kind of cool. You could make this the area that you said. This is the chair that you sit on. Right? Like this little part. That could be kind of interesting. But yeah, see, then you'd kind of go like this, basically, is what I'm thinking. Right? And obviously this is too high. This is way too high, this mounted bookshelf. But I think you could see where I'm going with that, right? Where this is sort of the window that just kind of, it's a decorative element on the side thing. And then you come around the front and you could still get into the actual literal sitting area here, right? And, you know, over here too. And then this is where we could utilize the fact that you can use two of these. So we could have one over here and then one over here. And to make that functional, that's not actually, in fact, a sittable surface. So we would just use probably actually a Zabuton cushion, potentially if we wanted to just hide something here so we could sit on here. You could slot a Zabuton, the little flat Asian-looking pillows, and you could float it just inside here. And then that way you could sit on the surface and have it be like a chair. Because it would effectively make it like that, right? Do you see how the stool is there? and how I could sit on the stool and then be sitting on this bench. So I think that actually, yeah, I think that could actually be kind of cool. And then, yeah, use the, see, like, if it's like that, then there is like a full bench right there to sit on. I don't know, that's kind of nice. And then you have some detailing in here. Like, this adds a lot of extra ornamentation to the booth. And then I think you would definitely cover up the top here because this is just too crazy looking. Yeah, I don't know. I think that could be something cool. Alternatively, again, you could flip this around and you just have it like this, right? Where, ooh, let me grab that. There we go. There we go. Right, that, right? So alternatively, the wall actually comes right here. I can show this. I can show this better. Give me a wall. Where's a wall? Do we not have a single wall here? All right, this will do. Just to show, the wall would be there, the natural wall. And then you have this, and you put this, and you flip it like this. Turn off grid snap, because that's doing weird stuff. Okay. Or we can just do it the hard way and go like this. Even more in. Yeah, so there you go. Right? So, I think maybe that now makes it a little bit more obvious what I'm going for when I'm saying you flip it around and you push it into the wall. So you can't see all that other crap there, and you just get the nice little window. And then, you know, maybe like the little doorway here. There's even an argument that could be made, I think, that this is angled, where, to create more space here, right? That this isn't actually a full-on wall that flies out this way. It's angled like this. And I know that actually here, I'm glancing at Pinterest, and I am seeing a lot of these confessional booths that have a bit of like an arc to them, where they're not actually a perfect rectangle. They're actually a bit, they kind of like angle in. So let's see, let me show what I'm talking about, right? It's, the shaping on them is actually, so it's not a box, it's this. Right? And then there is presumably what would be like a doorway right here and right here. So maybe it's more like partition in the middle, right? And then you could see how then you have the actual little chairs in there, right? So that's actually another design pattern that I'm seeing a lot online right now is that. So that as the structure. And I think that also could lend itself where it would give, right here, just this little bit that's sticking out would be the window, and then it actually arches over inward. And it's just that tiny little window that kind of juts out. And I think that could make it feel a bit more natural instead of like it wouldn't be a window that's offset. So what I mean, okay, let's see, how do I explain this? If it's like this, and it's perfectly squared off, right? And then we have our little, this cabinet, right? If we have it like that, it feels a little bit to me strange that the window is so offset from the rest of the wall, right? Typically, a window isn't like way to the left of a wall. If there's a surface here, the window would probably be near the middle-ish or something, right? So that kind of feels a little weird, right? But if the whole wall is angling in, and this is the only part that's straight perpendicular to the wall, then that actually makes a lot more sense now that the window is the way it is and there's only this little sliver that you can see. It feels structurally, at least as I'm imagining it in my mind, that feels now structurally like it makes more sense as you see it. Why is there this tiny little narrow window? Oh, it's because the whole thing slants inward and they just wanted the air vents or the windows on the sides, you know? Does that explanation make sense to people? Am I making sense there in how I'm thinking through that? Am I crazy? I'm a little crazy. Everyone's a little crazy, right? But I think, okay. Thank you, Griffin. And that's really a lot of what I think about is stuff like that, where I'm just trying to make sense of these things, right? Like to make these structures look cool but still make sense. And actually, as I'm looking at some of these photos, I'm seeing also a reoccurring pattern where there is sometimes the window in the middle. So here's like, okay, so here's one of those moments where, remember I asked very early on in this stream, does this need to actually function? And one of the reasons I asked that is because of this, right? So here's something that would be cool. Let's just say we have this whole thing going on again, right? So from a visual standpoint, it would actually also make a lot of sense to do this, right? To just have this thing be in here. Okay, hold on, let me make sure the window pops out. There, right? So that actually also makes a lot of sense, visually speaking, if you don't actually have to see what's happening inside, right? Because this is no longer functional anymore because there's no actual window where you're talking through. Oh, maybe right there a little bit, kind of, but that's not really the vibe. But you could see how if the reins come off where we say this doesn't actually need to function, like people don't actually sit in this thing, then that opens up a possibility here, right? Where you could have this little window in the front, in the middle, that's illuminated, or even two of these inverted with each other so there's two little windows. It's just that you couldn't actually talk through any partition anymore. But design-wise, it could make a lot of sense and look really cool. And that was a big reason why I asked, does this thing need to function? Do people actually need to be able to sit in this thing, right? So yeah, see, so hopefully that makes a little more sense now for anybody who was like kind of didn't really see why I was so concerned about whether this thing has to be functional or not. This is a big thing, right? This item, I want to make use of this item. I think it has a very cool element to it, but the limitations of the way that the item is structured mean that understanding the functionality or lack of functionality of the piece that it's going to be a part of does affect whether I can use it in certain ways or not, right? And there's a big part of me that I think what I heard was that this is not really an option, that people, when they see a confessional booth in this thing, they're gonna want to be able to go inside. Which I totally understand. I totally understand how that's like a fun point of interaction that could probably lead to some really interesting RP stuff, or even just like some funny screenshots and these kinds of things. So I do think that I have to nix the idea of these windows being in the middle, and they'll probably be this. It will either be that I use this with the bench idea, or I have them flipped around against the wall and then this little cutout on the side there. But I do like the idea of doing the angle thing from that because of the way the window is. I think doing this angled confessional area will be nice. And I also think so something that jumps out at me when I'm looking at this heaven area is that right now it feels very much like a giant box. You know, like it still looks very beautiful, but I think that we talked about this a lot last time, and you probably hear me say this all the time, but whenever I'm making a custom space, I do feel like it's always, to me, it feels a bit more engaging, a bit more fun and memorable if we can change up the space so that people don't feel like they're just walking in the box that they're used to walking in. Because most houses, most clubs that you'll probably run into probably just use the basic shape, the box. However, if we can break up the shape here and make, some more elements that are rounded, or maybe even just the simple act of this area right here. This is very cool with the big windows, but it's very simplistic in terms of that it's a box. But just having the confessional booth pop out of the wall here and having it kind of have that hexagonal like angling to it, I think will immediately break up the shapes in the room here, right? In this vantage point, it will break up the shapes in this room and it will make it feel much less boxy and much more flowy, which works well then with some of the archway kind of motifs that we're going for, right? Because I do feel like we talked about how heaven has has pillars and archways and circular kind of things going on, right? This is rotating around in a circle, right? This is circular pillar, right? Flowing wings, right? So there should be more of a flow to it, an elegance and a flow to it, instead of just, I think boxiness feels a little bit more just like strict modern, right? Or like very geometric. And I think heaven, when I think of it, should have a bit more of a natural elegance and flow to it. And I think getting those curves, breaking up the box shapes helps us zone in on that theme a bit. Also, hello, Liara. Welcome back to the stream. No worries. Got your dryer fixed. Oh, nice. Gotcha. Glad you got it fixed. Welcome back. And Brendan, I'm glad that you've liked those that spiel that I was talking about. I think you're talking when I was talking about the door and how I wanted to angle the walls to make the cutout with the window feel more natural, right? I think that's what you're referring to. Yeah, I'm glad that you. I tweeted about this even, where like I definitely. Sometimes when I'm talking about some of that stuff, I feel like, oh shit, am I being boring? Like, I'm not literally building, or I'm not like doing stuff. So like, I know it's not gonna be for everybody. Some people are gonna be like, oh, he's not actively shooting something. Like, what's going on, right? Like, nothing's happening. But then it does make me smile when I do see that some people like are like, oh yeah, no, like. When you just like went on some crazy, what seems like a crazy tangent or something like that, but it was like, I really liked that. Like I liked hearing that full train of thought being generated as it in real time in a way, So, yo, Johnny Juice, hello. Welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for that Prime sub. I appreciate that. Welcome. Enjoy the emotes, and glad to have you here in the stream. How you doing, Joni Juice? I like that name. It has a very nice flow to it. Rolls right off the tongue. But yeah, let's see. Whoa! Someone invited me. Automatic. There we go. I am sorry. Oh, that same person invited me the other night too to the Novice Network. I'm sorry, person, but no. I appreciate what you're going for, but yeah, let's see actually in the context of this room with the dance floor and stuff. How does this look? So like, you know, actually when you flip that around, that isn't actually that bad if that sticks out a bit. But also, yeah, there we go. See, so I think in the context of actually seeing it in the room, I think that looks really nice. And remember that this window actually is going to light up. When you actually have this item down and you activate it, it will light the window up quite a lot. And I do kind of like, I think that what we can have is this bluish window facing this way. And I'm pretty sure we're going to have to use both Gordian things, like one over here and one over here. And then the windows aren't going to match because you can only have one of each, and the Savage one is a red window, so they won't perfectly match. But I think they'll be so far apart that it won't matter, actually, that they don't match. Which actually, so we can use the structure that we're building here to our advantage. And by not, I mentioned that I could put them like this in the middle, but if I use two of them in the middle, the windows would not match, which could look cool or it could look like a mistake. But because one will go here and then one will go here to create the full width, that's actually like, see, you need the full width probably there to actually have this be sittable and actually someone can actually sit in there. In which case the windows will be so far apart that you'll never see them next to each other, because one will be coming, you know, if you walk in this way, you'll see it. And one will be, you have to walk all the way over here to even see it. And so they'll be so far apart that you won't even notice. And it won't matter that they don't really match up. Yet another thing that, like, I think I like thinking through stuff like that. But I mean, I'm sure there would be people who say it doesn't really matter that much, but it matters to me. So, long time lurker, first time chatter. Love it. Oh, I'm so glad to hear it. Well, I'm glad that you decided to speak up, Joni Juice. Always appreciate, I mean, I appreciate anyone who's, you know, any lurkers out there. I appreciate you. You know, you are the backbone of every stream. That majority, a lot of people who watch the streams are always going to be lurking, and that's totally fine. I totally respect that. I'm glad if anybody just likes the stream enough to stick around. But that being said, for any lurkers out there, and Joni Juice here, I mean, as a great example, don't be afraid to say hi, you know? Even if it is just like, hey, you know, just wanted to pop in and say hello. I'm always like happy to just kind of like meet people and just at least say hello and, you know, say thank you. And maybe it will give you some courage to speak up a little bit. And then once you start to get to know some of the people from this stream, you know, you'll find that we're not so bad. We're not so scary, you know? So I think many of the people who are actually in my Discord and in this stream and stuff did start off as lurkers in some way, one way or another. I've had quite a few people say that initially, so but yeah, Joni Juice, so are you a housing person as well? I only ask because sometimes I get, you know, people from the nightlife and then they're like, oh wow, I didn't even know you did housing, and then they check it out and they're like, oh wow, or vice versa, right? Housing and they're like, oh whoa, shit, like you're DJing, that's crazy. And I know right now I'm in the middle, right, where I'm housing but I'm building a nightclub, so it's kind of like whoa, you know. That's true, Laura, you were never a lurker. You were immediately filled with personality and showing it, and Ampy too. Wow, it's like you guys, did you guys plan that? Like you two were some of the very first people to actually sit and chat in my stream. So that feels like that had to have been planned. You two suddenly popping up here right as I'm talking about that. Were you lurking all this time, Amphy, and just waiting for that to happen? I suspect. I have my suspicions. Oh, okay, so you know what else I was thinking? So what I was thinking too for heaven when I was planning the hell stuff. And it occurred to me, you know what would be kind of cool is like we're in heaven, so like what if we had the sky, right? Like I think like a bunch of the thing I'm noticing here, right, is we have all these windows and yet we don't actually see outside anywhere, right? And it occurred to me, it might be kind of cool if we could really feel like we're partying in the clouds and like make use of some of these phasmascapes and just, I mean, we're not going to be near palm trees, although arguably some people would call this heaven. But, you know, if we had just some window, maybe it's even in the hallway or something, or as we arrive in heaven, but I would love to have at least one vantage point where we can see the clouds moving by and it feels like we're partying up in the clouds. Just because I feel like that would be such a cool bit of context for people to understand. Like, because right now, where are you, right? Like, where are you spatially in the world, right? Where is all this light coming from? Actually, okay, here's another point. One could make the argument that says, think about this spatially, right? Think about like what happened, how we got up here. Okay, so if you think about, right now I'm above the door. If I drop to the floor, I'm right above the door, right? Purgatory is right below me, and I walked this way, and then I walked up the spiral staircase and came up here, and then I ran through here. Okay, so where is this light coming from? Right? How is this window possible? I guess you could argue there's a courtyard in the middle there, and the light is shining through the middle of the courtyard, right? But I do think it would be kind of cool if we tried to play a little bit more people's mind, and we give them views outside the window to make it feel like, we're in the sky, right? Therefore, there could be windows all around us with light pouring through. So I think if we can capture that, that would really help solidify and make heaven feel extra special, is if we can feel like we're truly partying up in heaven in the clouds, you know? So, just another idea of where I'm going to try to go with some of that. So, And Bode, you said, wait, sorry, I'm just catching up on chat here. So, wait, you have a red window and a blue-green window? Yeah, so Bode Oak, what I mean by that is... Bode, if you take a look right now, right? So, we're talking about using this Gordian Bureau, right, as this window, right? If I turn this to the side, I get the little window. So the problem with this, though, is you're only allowed to have one of each of these, right? So the thing is, you can only have one of these, but there are actually two versions of it. There's a Gordian Bureau and a Savage Gordian Bureau, and you can actually have one of each in a build. The thing is, the Gordian Bureau, the windows are greenish blue. You see that? On both sides, greenish blue, right? And then the Savage one, it's red. Right? So this creates an issue where, like for example, if you were to put them side by side, you could only ever have a red and a greenish blue window. You couldn't have two greenish blue windows, given the limitations on this item. So that's what I mean by we have to figure out a way to make that feel natural or like intentional, right? There can be things that aren't perfectly symmetrical, but I feel like there is a subtle difference between something that doesn't match up but feels intentionally like it's asymmetrical versus a mistake, right? Like, oh, did you just run out of options for that or items or something, right? So you kind of want to play around with that. In Amphi, I think you say you just tuned in, but I don't know if I buy that. I think if you heard the call. Lurk? What? Let's see, Joni Juice. Yeah, I just recently posted one of my builds in your showcase channel in your Discord, and a few people in your Discord came by to visit. Yes, let's see, the ice cream shop. Yes, I do remember that. Yeah, well, first of all, I'm glad that you're in the Discord. I'm glad you're posting. Please share more if you end up, building more stuff. And yeah, I am so glad that you decided to speak up here and say hello to everybody here in the stream. So you got to come out with us now too. Got to come out, check out Prominence as well, and all that stuff, right? Gotcha, Amphi. I know, I see you. Confessionals have green and red lights on them during busy times. True. Yeah, so that can be something that kind of can get built into that aspect. We'll have to play around with that though. Again, part of the problem too is I think that the way that they want to have the confessional booth functional, and the way having the two windows in the middle would make the confessional booth non-functional, although it could look cool. So I think that I'm going to go with the structure where the two Gordian bureaus are next to each other, and the windows are just on the outer edges of the confessional booth, not dead center. There might be something else we can use dead center in a stained glass kind of way to make that look really cool. But I think, yeah, the confessional booth has to be a little bit different there. So, there was something else someone was saying that I wanted to address. Amphi was saying, was the right side of the sea of clouds Phasmoscape. That's a good point. Let's just take a look. Let's just take a look at the Phasmoscapes in general, right? So, there we go. Actually, so Asm Step also has a whole top area. This whole top area is actually all open in clouds. So arguably, if you just chop this whole thing off, we get clouds. And we can mix and match too, right? Like, this could be a nice way to make sure that none of the views out of the windows look too samey. So we could have, let's see. Yeah, there's the Sea of Clouds, right? So we could have this be one of the views out the window, this chunk. And we could have this chunk be another one. And then we could have this chunk be yet another one. And I feel like as long as they're all not super right next to each other, it will be largely indistinguishable that they are not from the same Phasmoscape. You guys will know, so shh, secrets. But you will not confess those secrets to anybody except Amelia, maybe, if she's the head priest or something. I don't really know. I don't really know who's in charge of the confessions here, but someone is for sure, and only talk to them about it. But so to say, yeah, I think that the Phasmoscapes, there could be a usage of mix and matching them just to create a multitude of open window spaces. And I don't know, I really like that idea. I really like that idea of having the open windows that feels like you're like partying. So I think that's the thing to me that maybe is missing here. I'm feeling a little that heaven, if you look up heaven images, what's something that I feel like the motifs in heaven, right, is obviously angels and stuff, but like it's a lot of like archways and stuff. But I think a big thing is heavenly buildings usually are very open. Like it's usually very like wide open, almost like the pillars that just lead out to patios and stuff, right? It's usually not so enclosed, and so that's where I'm looking at this space, and I think the thing that to me doesn't quite land as strongly of heaven as I'd like it to is the fact that it feels a little bit boxed in. Literally, it's a box, but it's also like I'd like it to feel a little bit more light and airy, if possible, to really give us that sense of being in the clouds in a sense, right? Right, exactly, Bodok, right? Yeah, very open, and that's a great way to put it. It's bright and it goes on forever, right? Like an endless sea of blue sky and white clouds, right? So I think that could be really cool where, yeah, we really try to like land that visual of kind of like, what is it? Skies one could drown in. You know, like just kind of like, or I forget that's the right quote, but yeah, I want that vastness, and I want that openness and that airy light feeling as much as possible. And so I think that is where I'm going to be experimenting a lot with in Heaven. I want Hell to feel very almost claustrophobic and very like, if I had to sum it up, I want like a fiery hellhole for Hell. Like I want it to be like you're like doing like a cave rave in like a pit of fire, right? And then I want Heaven to feel like you're partying up in the clouds, right? Up like in the bright sunlight in the clouds, right? That's like the emotional tone and vibe that I'm gonna be that I personally think I'm going for when I'm doing this stuff. And I wanted that to register instantly to people, even if they don't think about it. I want that to just be the feeling that they get. And also, I see Amphi saying sheep rugs, and now I gotta look at the sheep rugs and see the method in her madness. Okay, I see it. There we go. Okay, wait, let's look at all the rugs here. Why not? While we're here, okay. No, goober rugs, not gonna work. Too goofy. No. Ugh, that'd be an interesting take on Heaven. Heaven, but for whom? I suppose maybe that's how he got to heaven. You know, it gets kind of dark. Combed wool rugs, not quite the right vibe. Could be useful for certain aspects of it though. Jewels and riches? I don't think Heaven actually has jewels and riches. We do want gold accents, but it's not a fucking pirate ship. Very fluffy pillows could be nice, you know, like using these as like almost like fluffy couches or something. Extra fluffy couches. But we already have the sofas and stuff. Red carpet. I don't know that a red carpet to certain areas of Heaven couldn't work, you know, like up to the bar, up to the altar or something like that, you know? That could be kind of cool. Carpets of... Okay, here's another actual idea. I know Kaya did this really, really well in her build on the tour for the Under the Stars thing, where you use like the carpets. And I do think it would be cool to make the nature elements here too. Like I was thinking of having this kind of like you're walking through a field of flowers in some sense, right? Just I don't know if that's on the dance floor or what, but like I do think that also feels like it could have a place in Heaven where there's like very like bright, pretty flower gardens and stuff in Heaven, right? And so like maybe doing something with the carpet of flowers could be cool in some aspect here. Like even like this, you know, having like this. So this really feels like you're walking this like garden way to Heaven looking thing. And then Fat Cat Rug. Honestly, you know, I feel like this in an apartment in Heaven, it definitely has a place. I don't know about on the dance floor, possibly near the bar. But I mean, there's definitely fat cats in Heaven, because why wouldn't there be? Even a rug like this, actually, this has an ornamentation that could work kind of well for Heaven. Now that I'm looking at this particular rug. Not that one so much, but yeah, this one does feel very heaven-like to me. If framed correctly with these kinds of things, right? Like in the context of that, right? See, doesn't that feels very... Yeah, I could see how that could work especially if you cover the edges maybe, but just use the blue part. That could be very heavenly. Same thing here, red carpet could work with the gold. No, no, no. No, no. No, not quite. This, I was thinking, might be good for hell. Same thing, possibly for hell. Pies? No. No, 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 no. Yeah, so sheep rugs, Riviera rug, possibly the red carpet, I think were the ones that jumped out to me here. Nimbus, hey! Resubscribed tier 1 for 5 months. Thank you so much, Nimbus. Welcome back to the stream. Glad to have you here. Thank you very much for the resub. I very much appreciate that. Can you dye the red carpet white? Absolutely. Actually, well, I can't. Me, as Imposter Noah here, cannot dye anything, any color. But this is a dyeable object, so yes, the red carpet could in fact be gold, or like, you know, yellow, canary yellow or something, or blue, like light sky blue, or white. So that is actually a great point. That's a great point, Boat Oak, that some of these items, we should make sure, you should consider the fact that we dyeing them a certain color, could really change the mood of a lot of them, right? And Griffin, yeah, no, the bear rug is pretty funny. This bear truly died from being steamrolled. Absolutely, the cement roll. Like, I mean, this is someone really went to town on this bear. Unfortunately, there is 0% 3D-ness left in this poor beast. R.I.P. Truly, and I hope he went to heaven, if anything. All bears go to heaven. That's a thing people say, right? In most Heaven TV stuff, okay, Callie Valentine's saying, in most Heaven TV stuff related, it's white and bright, and there's a gold gate. That's all we usually see. That's true, right? Yeah, exactly. So the white bright, kind of like archway, pillory stuff, and then there's like that motif of like having like heaven gates, right? Yeah. Like the idea of Elysium. Yes, and Amphi, you're right. Yeah. I think a little bit of that vibe of Elysium, that's kind of like, yeah, that sort of paradise, right? But I almost feel, yeah, I feel like there is a certain sort of character of flower and heavenly, like, or plant life, right? Like Elysium, actually weirdly just was scrubbing through that movie the other day, because I do really like some of the visual motifs they have in Elysium for other projects. But like, I noticed that Elysium, there is a lushness to their vegetation, but it does have a lot of like palm trees and stuff, because it feels like a resort, right? So I do feel like that is something to keep in mind, where when we start getting into the plants that we're adding in here, there is a sort of Roman heavenly, like almost like, yeah, you need to think of like the Greek or Roman and those kinds of garden vibe and the plants that would exist there, and make sure that it doesn't feel like a tropical paradise situation. Although again, arguably that would be my heaven. I like tropical stuff. So I don't know why, you know, coconut trees couldn't be in heaven, but when we're going for the more West or European / Greek Roman mythos heaven vibe, I think we need to be cautious of what type of plant life we put in here. So for example, like, I don't know if this doesn't work, right? But I do wonder if like some of these plants, they don't quite scream heaven to me. You know what I mean? That does not to say they don't work, but like, okay, the ivy on the pillar, this is very like, that is the classic look. Like this pillar, I mean, it looks like it's practically ripped right out of, you know, some kind of, I don't know, history book or something, right? And And I feel like that's what I'm getting at. It's not to say that we can't use some of the other greenery, but I want to make sure that I try to think through considering the options to make sure that the aesthetics and the references to classic mythos and aesthetic and what people picture in their brain kind of matches up as best we can. You know what I mean? So let's see. Sorry, I don't went off a little bit here. I'm catching back up. Okay. Yeah, Paisa. Paisa stuff. Some of those theme stuff, they has their place, but not here. That bear is huge. Honestly, Nimbus, I think arguably you could make a point that this bear is exactly as big as it needs to be because bears are fucking huge, right? Like this is a brown bear, right? So black bears typically, you know, I live in the U.S. and you know, on the West Coast side. So having said that, like black bears typically are a little bit smaller, but this is like a brown bear, and brown bears and grizzly bears, arguably are basically the same thing, depending on you know where you are. But like they're fucking humongous. Finally, yeah, I guess there's a thing going on right now where like you can vote on like fat bears. This is probably going to interest someone out there, but there's apparently right now like a poll going on currently where you can vote on like fattest bears on the internet. And there's like a collection of bears that they've like gathered up, and you like vote on like which bear you like the most. And it's not even necessarily like what is literally the fattest, but like it's just pictures of huge fat bears because they stuff themselves for the winter. And so if you're really into fat bears, like go look up like the fat bear contest, and you get a bunch of pictures of like really tubby bears who are like just like chock full of salmon. And I'll tell you, they're fucking humongous. This bear, this size rug is actually probably pretty accurate based off of those photos. This is now a nature podcast, and we're now talking about fat bears and the wildlife around the things, which like, what? Okay, wait, what happens? You know, like when bears are hibernating, like if a wolf comes in the den or something like that, because like wolves don't hibernate, right? So wolves are wandering around the wilderness. What if the wolf is just kind of like, oh, cool, what a nice cave, right? And they go inside the cave and there's a fucking bear sleeping in there. Like, would a wolf just be like, oh shit, this guy's sleeping. We gotta go, man. Like, gotta be quiet. We don't want to disturb. Or would it be like, oh my God, woof, 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 you know, like, and then the bear would wake up and he'd be like, oh my God, you know, I was in hibernation mode. Like, what are you doing, man? Like, just, is this a real thing that happens? How often does this happen in the wilderness? And when it does, how does that go down? I don't know. Is there footage on the internet? Someone surely has footage on the internet of this, right? You know, what happens? Like, you know, if you poke a sleeping bear, first of all, I'll probably slap you in the face and be like, what, dude, come on, right? But like, can the bear just go back to sleep? Does it work like that? Or like once the hibernation, you know, hibernating is like low metabolism. So like that's why they don't have to like eat or drink or do any of that kind of stuff. But like, if you get woken up by some asshole wolf who's just like stumbling around in your den, does your like, you know, like your stuff all like kick in again? You're like, shit, you know, like I stored up all this stuff and I was on like low burn mode and now I'm on high burn mode trying to get this asshole out of my cavern. Ugh, you know, I'm sure there's a nature documentary out there that documents this in length, but you know what? It's kind of quite entertaining to like think about this. In my yes, there we go. There you go. There's your fat bear tangent for the day. All right, I'm sure that this has generated some chat, but let me. Okay, so props to the tanner who worked on that mess, though. Hey man, look at this. I mean, I gotta say, they made this bear so damn symmetrical looking, which probably is saying something considering how smashed up this thing probably got. So wow, you know, it almost looks like it's mirrored, but you know, that's just good tanner. That's just good tanning right there. That's just good. Not embalming, whatever. There's the profession where you make stuffed animals. Someone's gonna say it in chat. I don't know what. As I'm scrolling down here, Amelia, you're here. Hi. There's no bear in heaven. See, look, it's gone. I don't know what you're talking about. There's no bear. There's no cheese. There's no bear. It's just ignore it. Don't believe the hype. Don't believe the rumors. Okay. It says coconuts are gross and those trees go to hell. Yeah, I got, you know, coconuts probably do kill some people every year, right? Those jerks. People just casually hanging out on their Hawaiian holiday or whatever, and then bam, coconut in the head. Wrecked. I mean, what are you gonna do? What if there's like special crime units for like, well, you know, Jerry strikes again. Another one conking another one on the head. Clips, by the way, thank you very much for the resub for 7 months now. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for the resub there. Fat Bear Week. Okay, here we go. Now I'm catching up to the Fat Bear Week comments because surely, yes. Okay, so Amphy knows it's from Katmai National Park. There you go, right? Yeah. Not that I meant I was referring to like actual bears. So if you do Google fat bear, like the fat bear contest, like this is an actual thing in real life that is happening. This is not in Eorzea. This is an actual thing happening in real life. And all that shit that I was talking about with the bears getting poked by the wolves and stuff and waking themselves up, all real. Actually real life stuff. Sometimes we escape from the virtual world and talk about real shit. The real questions, the real ponderings, right? So, and there you go. Yes, they do indeed wake up sometimes, says Kara. Confirmed. Kara has poked the sleeping bear and can confirm, can wake them up. You probably have to go soon. Yo, Amelia, if you are still here, I know that you are either at TwitchCon already or headed to TwitchCon. Have a fucking fantastic time there. I can't wait to see some of you guys streaming from there. But yeah, I do really hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful time there. I think it's going to be absolutely amazing. I already saw Yams and Swage were doing their little back-to-back set, which I can only imagine is them meeting up pre-TwitchCon and probably headed over there together. But yeah, I cannot wait to see what all of you guys get up to. That'll be so, so cool. There you go. That's the one. Taxidermy. Right? So do your taxes, everybody, is what that equates to. When you flatten a bear, make sure you do your taxes. So, Nimbus used to... Wait, you actually used to do taxidermy? And Salsa Lime says, I hope there's cheese. Does salsa and lime go with cheese? Oh, actually, yes. I'm going to answer my own question right there. Salsa and lime definitely goes with cheese because that's just Mexican food. So, and it's delicious. So, it's a crazy expensive job. It's a crazy expensive job, so you quit? Like, expensive on your well-being? But I guess, yeah, I could also see how it's a very specialized thing for a very niche audience. You know, like, how many... Well, okay, I don't know, that could actually get very morbid very quickly, asking, like, how many people could possibly be killing animals and want them stuffed? Okay, we're not going to get into that. That, you know... So anyway, so salsa, lime, and cheese. It's a great combination of condiments to put with your tacos and your burritos, is what I'm saying here. And also, fat bears are pretty adorable. You should go vote for fat bears, is also the moral of the story here. So, the Stormblood leatherworking quest. You know what? I gotta say, yeah, I need to probably do some of those quests because I don't have like any of those abilities on the high-end stuff. Probably should get to those eventually. You petted a live bear once? Jesus Lord. Was it sleeping? Was it in hibernation? How did that go? Salsa Lime. Petted a bear once? Good Lord, what a flex. Let's see. Master Wolf said you're still here too. Oh, Master Wolf. Master Wolf, have you ever... Are you one such wolf whomst has found a bear cave in the wilderness during a long winter whilst a very fat bear was sleeping and felt compelled to prod said bear awake out of curiosity, or to be like, hey man, I'm hopelessly lost, and this cave's pretty sweet. Can I like hunker down here for a little bit? Lagloon, hello, by the way. I bet. Also, I haven't even moved for a long time now, but I don't know. I feel like everybody, this is the most, I think we're all very engaged with this bear conversation and some of this stuff. And surely this energy will be exactly the kind of energy that I need to build furiously in the night. Furious as a fat bear who's been awoken in the middle of his winter sleep. So, and man, this is going all over the. What did you just? They partied yesterday. They partied yesterday, and now a bunch of them are staying together. Right? Yeah. I know they. Salsa's yeah. Salsa. I realize also your name doesn't say salsa lime. It says sala lime. In my brain, I'm just gonna. Yeah. I'm sorry. You even said it right there. As I keep reading. But. I think actually, wait, I could have sworn there was somebody named Salsa Lime that I met in game. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway. My statement still stands though, that salsa, lime, and cheese would go well together. Yeah. Oh man, I look forward to them all partying together. They didn't actually invite me over there, but just it wasn't going to work out financially and timing wise this time around. But I very much look forward to seeing them all partying together. I think it'd be really cool. I would love to join them, hopefully in the future. Maybe we can have another DJ retreat sometime, somewhere, you know, and just do like a thing. I do think like, oh man, one of the in the future, like fan fest or something, like rent out like an auditorium room and just have like an in-person rave with everybody. Wouldn't that be cool? You work as a post, Mugo Kupo. So yeah, right? So presumably some bears get letters. And you gotta deliver the letters, and maybe they're sleeping. Dead animals cost a lot. Yeah. Cost a lot in our wallets and our hearts. Amen. Need to go to confession. Would result in a lot of confessions, and good thing we're building a confession booth then, I suppose, right? So, you know what? I should have stood up here and been preaching officially about the bears, I realized. What a missed opportunity. My god. What a novice streamer am I. Missed opportunities. Wait, so many expensive tools and permits. Oh, I see, because you had to do it yourself. Buy these expensive tools and permits to get the bear that flat. Yeah, that can't be easy, so I would imagine there's very specialized tools. One does not simply roll a bear that flat, you know, with like a cookie roller. So if I told me to craft in this game because I don't enjoy it much, but then I wanted to make my own furniture. Yeah, I know, right? I didn't think I was going to get into crafting either, but then I got into housing and everything changed. But then the Fire Nation attacked, and yeah. I posted some of the work you did. Mark spoilers. Ah, okay, yeah, you posted some of the taxidermy. Oh, I'll have to take a look. No, salsa picante? Okay. You did Ishe. Oh, maybe you're right. I am confusing salsa picante. Wait, is this you in game? No, wait. I'm sorry, I might be mixing people up. But yeah. Yeah, right? See, steamrollers would be expensive, right? So, Bear looks at the things that cats do and is like, I want to do what they do. What do cats do that bears want to do? I don't really think cats aspire to be flattened. It's like climb things and being flexible. Oh, I don't know that bears aren't that flexible. You seen Baloo in the Bare Necessities? He looks pretty flexible, right? Well, he's like jiggling along. Do 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 do. There you go. Got it stuck in your head now. You're welcome. I am cilantro. Okay, you're cilantro lime. Salsa picante is my wife. Got it. Okay. Right. Okay. That's right. But so if anything, I'm talking about you two together, and it does make sense that you would be together. And when you're together, you can be salsa lime. And right? And I mean, you see how that could work out, right? And then do you also like cheese? So, I mean, I don't know that my statement doesn't hold true, right? But yeah. It's Mother Nature's recipes, you might even say. So, I think, yeah, and holy shit, I mean, and there goes 2 hours on stream. My God. Well, we're not quite there yet, but, I think we learned, class, did we learn a lot today or what? Boy, oh boy. Maybe we just need to have nature documentary stream, where we just simply discuss, we discuss musings over various random happenstance scenarios in nature and ponder what that's like. I will be playing all parts. I will be playing the part of, well, actually, no, Master Wolf could be the wolf, I suppose. I don't know why I would take that part away from him or her, or I don't really know, actually. Yeah, they, them, it's fine, whatever. Themst, the wolf pack. But yeah, catch me on Bear Grylls next week as I deep dive into the world of fat bears and ask them how they feel about the idea about steamrollers. If a bear had a nightmare about a steamroller and or any other horrible happening whilst hibernating, could they wake themselves up and then have trouble going back to sleep? Is this a possibility? Do bears have dreams? Would they have nightmares? What would a bear nightmare be like? Like, Greg stole my honey again? Just like right out from under me? I don't know. Salmon got away again? Like, that was a good one? What? Man. Like, berries are off colored this year. Maybe they're poisoned. What would a bear have a nightmare about? But next, David Attenborough. We look on the bears. What? How does he talk? And there you see the bears out in the wild, foraging for the salmon. Maybe there we go. There's the stream idea. David Attenborough having a conversation with Bob Ross as they observe bears in the wilderness, and they're just pontificating of what is happening. So it's alas, the salmon has gotten away again. He's going to go hungry for another night, but not before he meets up with the cub. That is, his happy little accident. Isn't that right, Bob Ross? Yes. No, just a happy little accident over there. It's all good, Sometimes bears need to make some more little bears. Nothing wrong with that. Salmon too, If they ain't making more salmon, what are the bears gonna eat? And it's all just part of the circle of life, It's all just that. Good old nature food chain. Nothing wrong with that. No judgment here. So, housing it. Housing. There you go. As one does, as one does. Do bears dream of electric sheep rugs? Ooh, there's a title. Do bears dream of electric sheep rugs? I like that reference. I like that reference. Big fan of Blade Runner. And all of that whole stuff that is spawned of that nature. I need to finish Cyberpunk. I've only seen the first 2 episodes. I heard it's very, very good though. So no spoilers, but I need to be watching more of that. That's totally right up my alley. Yeah. So confessional booths in heaven. After all. Wow. Mission accomplished, guys. We did it. We planned heaven out and discovered my next stream topic. And possibly an alternative career path should all of this not pan out. Podcast featuring imposter Bob Ross speaking to David Attenborough. I need to work on my David Attenborough though. I forget, there was a phrase that used to be when you do impressions, there's like those, what do they call them? I don't know. I'm sure there's a term for this, but you have phrases that you say that hooks you into the way that person talks, right? And like that's a really good way to like get yourself in the right like thing. So like the happy little accident thing, you know, or like titanium white, right? Like if you say that's like a phrase, then you're like, all right, yeah, that's what Bob Ross talks like, right? Or the Mo, you know, I'm walking here, or what, I don't know, you like have some kind of weird thing if you have like a Brooklyn accent, or like Christopher Walken, I'm Christopher Walken, or whatever, right? It's like, but you got to have like a hook thing that kind of gets you, it gets you in that mindset, right? Of talking like that person, and puts you in their little like, that's like a key phrase that's very iconic of theirs, and then it really helps you. I don't know. Anyway, there's your free like. I'm not a voice actor, but you know, if I was, that's what I would tell you. My advice. So there you go. Don't tell people I never did anything for you guys. Free advice. And yeah, I got a big laundry list of laundry, and also laundry list of items that we're gonna need for this stuff, because this isn't gonna cut it. That's not really quite a confession of booth, if I do say so myself, you know. With some imagination, I suppose anything's possible, but yeah, we're gonna need some more specific items. And I think we got some good ideas out though on stream today. I really think this helped a lot. I know, again, some people might see these VODs or even be watching along and be thinking, it didn't really like actually build that much, but you know, again, I think so much of creating sort of more multi-layered builds or even artwork and stuff like that, a lot of it often does really come down to how solidified the idea is in your brain, and then being able to then, like, once you have a pretty solid idea of the directions you're going, it's so much easier to start firing out like ideas around that. And it's so much easier also to then axe out ideas that don't really fit with that thing, you know? So, you know, because I think, like, for example, once we start adding some of these structural motifs and concepts for both heaven and hell, very quickly it will mean that a lot of styles, like, you know, I always try to look at, like, when I'm building with different elements, like, how does the ornamentation on the element match or not match with the style, right? So again, I think when I was very first building, we said like, okay, so this is the motifs of like this is crosses, right? There's the cross motif, right? And then this is like the sort of florally, you know, thing. This doesn't look too spiky and angular. Well, okay, this is spiky, but we're gonna hide that stuff. But this part is, you know, much more flowing and kind of elegant looking. Versus, I know for a fact, right? This, no, not Alpine, the other one, your other Alpine, Alpine cabinet has much more of like a hell vibe, in my opinion, with the dark steel look and everything like that. And then once we start latching onto some of these things, you know, the pillars here, it'll very quickly inform which items we can and can't use to form things like our confessional booth, or pillars, or gardens, and these kinds of things. So I think that's, yeah. Yeah, exactly, Griffin. See, we got the confessional more or less figured out and started changing the shape. Yeah. Progress was made. And I know we tangented very massively at the end there, but I hope you had fun with it, everybody. I don't even know what to call that VOD now on YouTube, but whatever. It'll be a happy little surprise, as it were, for the people watching the VOD. And you thought you were just gonna hear me talk a little bit about club design, and yet now you know about taxidermy and bears. So, you know. And you know, as they say, right? I mean, we have the bears now, and you guys know I can bring the beats. Now we just need the Battlestar Galactica, for anybody who gets that reference. But yeah, we will. We're building stuff. We're building cool stuff here. So, yeah, this. I think I need to sketch some stuff out. I think I need to sketch some of this to get my head a little bit more around how we can restructure this whole room. Because I really feel like we need to shrink this thing in to really be able to go as all in on the theming that I'm talking about as I want. And I do kind of really like this idea of okay. Yeah. I have a thought, but it's not going to make a lot of sense until I put it down a little bit. So I'll have to show you guys on the next stream, I think. Next week we'll be Bears doing taxidermy. Anything is possible. So I guess you'll just have to tune in next time to find out. Will the, I don't know, what is it, 90s, or not even 90s, like a retro action comic TV show, like an animated TV show, like, will the bears wake up? Will they be able to sleep through the winter? You know? Is he really even David Attenborough? Find out next time. Brain's too busy thinking about fat bears and things now. Possibilities with this, you know what I mean? I'm gonna have to get a bunch of items and experiment with some patterns here. I really think we need to really block out the idea of this thing all being one unit. I think we're using way too many slots having these in two separate rooms. And in fact, I wonder if there's a different way that we can make this hallway thing happen, but yeah, I almost want to say, I'm kind of leaning toward this idea of, I understand the Stairway to Heaven this way, but I think I spoke about this last time, but I kind of like the idea of there being a bit more of like a real stairs, like that then would launch you into heaven, and then maybe come through like up some stairs, and then like launch up. Then you hit a hallway here, walk through the hallway to heaven, and then bam, here you are and you get the full like heaven room again. So it's the same effect as having this happen, right? It's just that we're gonna get you, I guess, yeah, it's basically this. You just like get launched up and start here, and then you go to, you know, hallway to heaven, and then bada bing. I like that idea of having a stairway that you walk up to heaven. That's, I'm not sure. I feel like we could maybe get that feeling a little bit more built together or something. I don't know. And yeah. So, okay. Yeah. I think I need to think through some of this a bit more. And buy a bunch of items / ask the lovely folks at Eluded Ecstasy to help me craft a bunch of stuff. And we're gonna this is gonna be, we're gonna tear this place to the ground, but then rebuild it really awesome. So I'm excited. This will be really cool. I'm envisioning kind of the 100 steps out kind of thing in my head, and I can see some pretty cool visuals here, kind of how this could go, and that's exciting. Sometimes when you like can't envision a like grand result a little bit, it can get a little discouraging, where you're kind of like, I don't really know what I'm building toward. And I think I had a lot of ideas that were kind of all disjointed a little bit, but I actually think spending the time that we just spent here in the room, honestly, just being in the room and walking back and forth through it, and quite frankly, honestly, tangenting to the bear thing and now coming back to it, my brain is reconnecting some things in a way that it wasn't previously, in terms of the layout and like how that can work out. So sometimes when you get stuck on housing, you need to go on a really massive random tangent and voice act some famous people, and then your brain will get unstuck, and you will not only have learned a lot about the natural world and bears' lifestyles, but you will also be able to move forward with your project. That's the moral of the story. And I think that is really the vibe of the stream, is don't let your dreams be dreams, you know? And especially don't let them be nightmares if you're a bear who might wake up from hibernation because you lost the salmon again, or the salmon slapped you back in the face and really shamed you in front of all your friends and family. And just a real social disaster that would surely wake you up from your quiet slumber. So, there you go, crafting party. If you guys want to potentially, help out with me crafting some stuff, then I can maybe field that. Oh, actually, wait, this is a good point. This brings me to another point, unrelated to the build, actually, but related to my Discord. So for those folks who are in here, in the stream right now, and who are in my Discord, or who would like to, if you would like to join my Discord, there's links and stuff to all that below. In fact, here, I'll link it here in the chat. It's the best way to keep in contact with all my stuff and get notifications if you like. And I actually just did a big rework of the Discord. Phase 2 of that rework is coming soon. But for any of you in my Discord, you may have noticed that I did a whole bunch of changes. I cleaned up a lot of stuff. And actually, it's actually more accessible than ever right now, because you can actually get notifications now without even fully signing up for everything. Because I understand that some people may not fully know if they want to be part of the community, but they might want to have notifications about my streams or when prominence is happening and that kind of thing. So actually, I've moved some stuff around where you actually can opt into some of those things without actually even having to go through the full registration stuff. But you just won't have access to the rest of the community, which I would highly recommend. And within the community, especially with the housing section, the big one that we had talked about in a previous stream is the item exchange. And so some of you who do housing a lot may want to take a look at that new item exchange that I've added, where it's not a marketplace to make a profit or be like trying to sell your wares. It's really a place where like if you have excess of certain items or if you need certain items, you can maybe field it into that section, and maybe some people within the Discord can help you out with that, getting the items that you need. Or for example, if someone ends it up with like, I was building a build and I ended up with 10 verdant partitions or something, or like, I don't know, like a bunch of demon wall sculptures, and I only really need 5, but I have 10. Does anybody need a couple of them? It's Halloween coming around, so like, here, I'd be happy to give them out to anybody who wants them. So, wanted to just point out that like, for any of you who didn't see my notification, some of the messages I sent in the Discord, take a look at the changes I made to the Discord overall. Hopefully everything feels a lot cleaner. It's a lot more simple. It's a lot more condensed and obvious where things should be posted and where things go. And also for the housing folks, the biggest change to the housing section is adding that forum section with the item exchange. So hopefully we're gonna need to experiment around with that a little bit, because it's gonna be a trial thing right now. We're not really sure how it works. But we'll all learn together, and we'll hopefully make it into a really useful tool that everyone can benefit from, like the Discord as a whole. So, yeah. And I think for tonight, I'm gonna call the stream there. We got lots of stuff to work on. For those of you who would like to catch a DJ set of mine, this Saturday I'll be playing over at Morpho. And let me make sure I know when that is. There's the event in my Discord if you are in the Discord, so you can always see it there. But I'm going to be playing at Morpho, which is on Primal, and it's going to be from 10:30 p.m. to 12 a.m. PST, and that's going to be this Saturday. So if you're around and would like to catch a bit of a DJ set from myself, then come through. And if not, maybe I'll see you on my housing stream next Monday, where we'll continue wherever I'm at with this club, and wherever David and Mr. Bob Ross are with their conversation, I suppose. So, thank you everybody again for coming to this stream, and I hope you had some fun with it. I hope, though it was a bit all over the place, that you learned something, and I certainly hope that you had a good time. So, I'll talk to many of you probably very soon. But yeah, until next time, thank you so much. Take care, have a wonderful rest of your night.